G'day Raiders family, it's Bourkeys here and welcome to my round 3 top 10 preview versus the Warriors tomorrow afternoon at hopefully a dry GIO stadium. I think the dry weather tomorrow, particularly against the Warriors, will help us enormously. We've had 2 weeks now of wet weather against the Tigers and particularly last week against the Sharks, so a dry track I think at home on a Saturday afternoon in Canberra will certainly help our cause playing a very up-tempo game. So look, let's dive into the top 10. Warriors, as we know, always give us a tough gig, particularly the last round 2019. They upset us even though we're resting 5 or 6 players. They always seem to come to Canberra confident with their style of play. They play very up-tempo as well. So they think they can match us fairly much in that attacking department. I think we do have an edge, particularly in communication, combinations, and just some edge of class in certain positions, which I think is going to help us enormously. Look, let's dive in. Warriors are pretty much, from what I can see, attack is pretty much going to be around Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. He's my number one, obviously. Now, earlier on, Shrek, as I like to call him, he'll play wide. He'll play out in the centres with Peter Hiku and Adam Pompey, where he'll loiter around there, trying to get a second man behind, bring one of the wingers in, Bailey or Rapana, to rush in, and he'll hit a long face ball. That's where he'll play early, Roger. Late in the half is where I'm really concerned with his whereabouts. He usually then angles in 5 metres either side of the play of the ball. He'll get an inside ball from Nikorima a lot of the times and usually go straight down behind the markers if our markers are lazy or they split too quickly or they don't split at all. That's where Roger's extremely dangerous. The big thing with Roger is when we do kick, so Jack and George and Hodjo on the rare occasion, we cannot be kicking it to him on the full. We've got to bounce it to him every opportunity we can get, because when Roger's not on the run taking the ball, he's far less dangerous and far easier to tackle. If we can bounce the ball to him in our kicks, we get a good line speed and get 3 or 4 around him to tackle him. He's nowhere near as potent, but he is very potent. As I said, that 5-10 minutes before half time, we've got some lazy forwards. That's where he can really exploit our middle area with his attack. Nikorima's number 2. Now that Chanel Tavita-Harris is out with injury, Nikorima is going to be their go-to man, I think, on both sides of the ruck with their attack. Nikorima usually plays right side and Tavita-Harris plays left, but I can see Nikorima sweeping both sides now to try and orchestrate the attack. It's a lot to do for one guy. So once again, we've got to put a lot of pressure on him, particularly from Marcus. If he does sweep, the markers have got to get forward and get off their line to meet him and take the time away he has with the ball. Nikorima is also going to be now their main kicker. So once again, he's got a hell of a lot on his shoulders all of a sudden as the 5'8", the playmaker and the kicker to take forward the side and also set up Tuivasa-Sheck, who may play more on the front line now Tavita-Harris is out injured, but Nikorima's got a lot to do. Big thing with him, he's a small guy. We've got to use our brains when he's defending and really work him over to make him do 2 or 3 repeat sets of tackles in one set of 6 to tire him out. So when the Warriors do get the ball, he's not in a position to get the ball because he's so tied to maybe the 3rd or the 4th tackle. Gives us time to really get our line straight and our defence nice and tight with him. Number 3, I've gone for Aiden Fanua-Blake. He's a hated person in Canberra. I don't mean the word hate in that respect, but with Manly, he was always a smart ass against us, but he is going to be their forward leader. He does play big minutes. He's great with an offload, and he's got a big motor. So once again, he's going to be try and get up in our face. He likes to stir the pot a bit, likes to antagonise our guys. So we just got to really make sure our discipline's on. Once again, we've got to tire him out. So in defence, we've really got to aim up, make him do 2nd or 3rd repeat sets of tackles because he's usually their main go-to guy when he takes the ball up. Number 4, I've gone the wingers. Fusatua and Mamalo are very, very good wingers in the air. So they'll do a lot of cross-field bombs to Bailey and Jordan, who are a lot shorter than these guys. So we've really got to make sure that, for one, we don't give them field position to do a cross-field kick, that they're kicking from 40, 50 metres out with a midfield bomb. But if we do have the situation where Nicarima's doing a cross-field kick, we have to make sure we've got bodies in front of Bailey and in front of Jordan to give them protection. These guys are lethal, like a Daniel Tupou when the ball is in the air with their bomb retrieval. So that's the Warriors. Let's shoot across to us. I've gone Jack attack this week in relation to Jack Whiten. Now, for all there to see last week in the second half, Jack made 3 errors in 3 minutes. He dropped the ball twice and threw a bad pass within the space of 3 minutes. You would have noticed from them properly that the attack went more from our left edge, with Hodzo either hitting a forward tight on the left with a quick play of the ball, but more often hitting George Williams out the back on the right side. That's good. Jack makes an error. His confidence is down a little bit. We've got that plan B, plan C we can go to with George on our right side. I'm expecting Jack to bounce back tomorrow. He was obviously trying very hard last week to rectify his situation. You saw the big hit he did on Mulatano just to try and lift himself back to where he should be, as well as the team. But I'm expecting a dry track Jack to run the ball a hell of a lot more tomorrow and not be so inclined to maybe drift across field to look up, or to try and hit Elliott or Jared or so on. Number 6, I've gone sharing the load. A lot of comments this week I've seen that Papa only played 43 minutes, Louis only played 11 or 17. Guys, this is good for us. Michael Maguire or Todd Payton or Kevin Waters would give their right arm to have their front rowers only playing 40 minutes or 17 minutes. What that means is the bench is sharing the load and spreading the work amongst all the forwards. I don't want Papa or Louis flogged 65, 70 minutes each week because the bench isn't aiming up and doing what they should be. This is brilliant for later on in the year that Ricky can really manage these guys into the season. We're only in our 3rd game this week. To have them flog 65, 70 minutes a week is not good for their health, particularly later on in the year. So with Papa and Louis and even Joe Tarpany to a lesser extent, playing 30, 35, 40, I'm very comfortable with that right now. I think that's really important because we're sharing the load amongst all of the forwards, which is critical, particularly, as I said, towards the back end of the year where little niggling injuries can come in through Origin and so on. Number 7, I've gone for Bailey and Jordan. I don't usually bring wingers together like this, but while they've been very good the last couple of weeks, their error count, I think, is a little bit high for wingers. Last week, Bailey made a couple. Jordan made that absolute howler where he knocked the ball out of Elliott's arms. The week before, they both made a couple of errors. It's really critical. Wingers, particular, are very safe and very secure with their decision-making and what they're going to do with the ball, and particularly in defence, most definitely. So, look, while they're both have done some great things the last couple of weeks, I think Ricky and maybe some of the coaching staff would be a little bit concerned about some of the simplistic errors they're making. So we need to try and cut them out. Wingers making errors at that end of the field usually means we've got to defend our line for a couple of sets of 6, which the forwards don't like. It's just a situation we don't need to be in. Number 8, Jared Croker returns. Once again, in some of the media this week, a lot of clients have been, excuse me, not so much anti it, but concerned that maybe Sebastian Chris should have stayed there. It was never going to happen, guys. Jared's our captain, and Ricky was never going to drop him for Sebastian Chris. It sounded very romantic in that respect, but Jared needed to and deserves to come back in. Look, he's on notice, don't get me wrong. Sebastian has really stuck his hand up the first 2 weeks and said, hey, I'm ready when willing and able. And that's, once again, a fantastic outcome for Ricky, that he's been able to throw a jersey to Sebastian in the first 2 weeks and he's played out of his skin. But Jared's our club captain, and he deserves to be back in there. So, look, as I said, there's a bit of pressure on Jared to rise to the occasion tomorrow. He's going to be a little bit not as match fit now as some of our other guys, so he's really going to have to dig deep to make an impact, but he does solidify the side a lot with his captaincy. Number 9, I've gone the grind. Now, I said this a lot last year and even more so this year. That win against Cronulla last week, while not pretty, and our first half was outstanding, we didn't score in the second half, but we were able to keep Cronulla to 10 points. Now, we've got into a grinding situation, kick and chase. Errors we did make, we're able to cover up with desperation and just great communication to cover our inside and outside guys. That's the grind, fellas. That's what this side is now building itself on, as do the Roosters and the Storm and the Rabbitohs. Those sides are very good grinding sides where things aren't going to plan or it's a crappy day. They're able to get into the grind, stick to the basics, stick to the systems, and stick to the processes through full 80 minutes. Not 70 or 72 or 78 or 79, the full 80 minutes. So the grind's most important. Finally, I want to raise a mention to Curtis Scott. Now, if there was a stat for a try assist in rugby league, which I don't think there is, then that try that Hudson Young got last week should have been given to Curtis Scott as well as a try assist. The desperation to get to two players and beat them to get that ball back, and Hudson Young scores 30 seconds before half time. Let's face it, it was a game changer. We don't score then, we may lose that game. We go in at 12-0 or 12-2 down, or 12-2 up. It's a fantastic mental consolidation of our desperation to win the game. So hats off to you, Curtis. A brilliant play. That was your try as much as Hudson being on the score sheet as getting the try. But without your desperation and willingness to get to that ball, it wouldn't have happened. So Raiders fam, that's it for my top 10 this week. As always, thank you so much for your support through the Facebook pages, on Twitter. Look at me on YouTube if you want to have a look at any old videos, or this one fresh if you only like to deal with YouTube. So guys, looking forward to tomorrow's game. Can't wait. And as always, this is Bourkeys. Bleed green, out.